But if you wish to enter the ascension spiral through the different levels of your own being, you must strengthen your ka and also realize there are ways you can harm yourself. For example, if you have a bucket and you fill it with water from a well and your goal is to take it to the garden and put it into the roots of the plants, you do not punch holes in the bottom of the bucket and then try to carry water back to the garden, do you? No, because by the time you get there, the water will be gone. It is a wasted effort. Welcome to Activations with JJ. In today's episode, we'll be talking more about how to activate your Ka light body, as well as information on quantum leaping with regards to your ascension journey. These are really amazing topics I can't wait to dive into. So let's get going. Hello and welcome, beautiful friends. I'm so thrilled to be able to gather with you again in this episode of Activations with JJ. It has been so incredible over the last week or so to feel the energies shifting and to feel a little bit of opening and relief for some of you. As many of you know, I have been working with the 5D emotional body, and I have completed all of the one-on-one sessions that were scheduled, that I had time to schedule, and I learned a lot. I honestly learned a lot. I'm also continuing to explore the topics presented in the Hathor Material. Not only were they presented to me there, but I also was reading them in the Magdalene manuscript. So many of you know I've been talking about this, and I highly recommend that you take a look at those two books. I'll be reading a few excerpts from the Hathor Material, just like I did in my last podcast episode. So if you have the book, it'll be nice for a reference. If you don't, the link is below. This one is all about something that's coming forward for many people that they can't really put their finger on or necessarily put words to. And we are being called to understand, to better understand, I should say, our energy body. And the Ka body is also known as your pranic body in essence. And there are a lot of names for that in many different traditions. But as I describe it, as I bring forward some of the information presented in the Hathor Material, you're going to better understand how to utilize that energy, how to replenish that energy. And it's like a domino effect. It will literally completely shift the way you feel in all your other bodies, including but not limited to your emotional body and your physical body, which I know are at the forefront for many of you right now. I feel that with a lot of people, and it's really been interesting in my own personal experiences to understand this Ka body as it relates to even Kundalini energy. There's a lot of connection there, and I know it will resonate with many of you. So that topic's going to be fun to explore. I've also decided to discuss something that's been coming into my field over and over again in the past week, to be completely honest. Now, this isn't something new to me, but it's really been a recurring theme. And when something is a recurring theme, you know I'm going to talk about it on my podcast. And that is the concept of quantum activation, quantum healing, quantum shifting, essentially any kind of change that occurs in your frequency and spans across the quantum field, which means it affects all parts of you, all parts of your multidimensional self. Now, this is something that has come forward for me really potently in my sacred initiation journey container. It just so happens that journey, the doors to the journey are still open until the 22nd of February. So you have like 2 days, if you're listening to this right when I publish it, to join us there if you feel the call. And this sacred initiation journey, we did a Path of Grace experiment, which you could also have access to as well. You can check out the link below. We're still determining exactly what the delivery method for that would be. But wow, for those of you who participated in that Path of Grace, we had over 170 people, last I checked, that stepped into that 3-day container to just bring through, co-create, honestly, some powerful transmissions. And of course, I co-created that with my friend Anna of Living from Divine, as well as my beautiful friend Alex and my friend Greg, who have been Gridworkers in some of my gatherings, and you might be familiar with them. We are all working together to assist the collective in this offering. So if you're interested in if the idea of sacred initiation journey calls to you, one of the things that we focused on in the Path of Grace was activating and calling in the living master within you. So if that doesn't say sovereignty all over it, I don't know what does. That is the focus. That is the focus. It's really anchoring in your sense of self, your I am presence, so that you can more fully express your multidimensionality, which brings me to the idea of this quantum sort of activations. Every time I co-create with Anna, it is a multidimensional experience, because what we do is facilitate a space for you to bring forward all of your multidimensional parts, including, but not limited to, all of your inner child aspects. We are so meticulous in working with them, and we also set the intention that everything we do spans across time and space. And that's where the quantum piece comes in. I'll be talking a little bit more about what has been dropping in from my guides and how you personally can begin to access the, let me put it this way, shortcuts of working in the quantum field, working at quantum levels. It's really hard for me even to put into English sometimes. I might bring in some light language today too. I've been doing that a lot, even just because I want to convey these messages to your conscious mind, but also to your subconscious and your soul. And light language is the best way to do that. So that being said, let's dive into the idea of the quantum first, and then we'll jump into the Hathor material and the Ka body. I posted a reel last week, so this would have been around the 16th of February, if you want to go back and look at my Instagram. And I can actually put the link below here. And this was in connection with a podcast. Well, it was technically a YouTube video I did. It was a transmission from the Hathors, a light body activation. All of this ties in to the Hathor material. It really does. Like the two topics I'm covering today, it's all connected. It's all connected. But essentially what came forward, it was interesting because I was posting a clip of the light language that the Hathors had brought through. And I was just going to leave it at that. You know, sometimes you see my reels and it's just spoken light language. There's nothing else. But this time was different. And the reason that it was different is because they mentioned this whole idea of the quantum work. So what they said, and I'll read the message. I didn't speak the message in the reel. I actually just put the text up and I put it in the description. This is what they said. Dear ones, we sense what you are moving through. And I'm going to stop right there and let you know that I almost wrote the words going through, and they said no. This is something you are moving through. Feels more empowering to say that. We come to remind you of that which has been mentioned time and time again. This time we offer the message not just to the you in the here and now, but also to all of your multidimensional aspects across all time, space, dimensions, and realities. We invite you all to receive. It is safe to breathe. It is safe to breathe in the breath of life. It is safe to feel that very same breath. And so it is. And that was the channeled message that accompanied the light language transmission. Now, I'm sure you can feel, even just from me reading that message again, the power behind those words and the significance. And it goes without saying that it's totally connected to the Ka body, what we're going to talk about in just a second. The other piece that's extremely significant has to do with something that came through in our 5D emotional body group activation. Now, if you were unable to attend that live, I do have the playback available in my shop, and you can click on the link below. I highly encourage, everybody should be receiving that. It's one of those transmissions that I'm like, oh my gosh, every human needs this right now. Every human. And it was so powerful. Let me tell you a little tiny piece of it that was extremely powerful that's related to this quantum work. So the Hathors, of course, brought forward the concept of this central pranic tube, which I always talk about, I always want to work with, even when it comes to the Magdalene manuscript, which talks about, the sexual energy and bringing that together as divine feminine and divine masculine, whether it's within yourself or with a partner. It's all about activating the Ka body in that channel right in the center. And what happened was the Hathors came forward and they were activating that Ka, that channel, let's put it that way, the pranic tube. And they said, we are going to place a device that holds 0 point energy down into that pranic tube temporarily, because this will make what we do so much more effective. Now, as I was channeling this, I felt what was coming through was extremely significant. And there are many, many, many healers that are going to listen to this, that were at the activation, that are going to listen to the playback of the activation, that will awaken something in their mind and in their heart and in their soul, our memory of ways that they've used 0 point energy to do quantum work. But the fact that so many people are coming to a remembrance of all their multidimensional selves, whether consciously or subconsciously, to be completely honest with you, means that we have to ramp up. We have to shift our healing modalities. We cannot do the same old, same old. That's why a couple of years ago, one of the first downloads I got before I almost even had this podcast, talk about overwhelming. They were like, oh, here's a new modality. We need you to download this entire modality. What was that? Multidimensional soul integration. And of course, I offer that twice a year. It's coming up soon. It's coming up in April. So make sure you take a look at the link below, because if this is a modality that calls to you, whether or not you receive it or you become a certified practitioner, this is a modality, and I've said it over and over again, for the new earth. This is what Dolores Cannon came forward, and I've connected with her, and she said, build on what I did. What I did was like level 1. Now I know that her team and her family has also built on that, but of course she's a foundational, inspirational person for so many of us. She has been such a key part of all our awakenings. So, I just have to give her credit, because when you tune in and she's still involved, I guess is what I'm saying. I think many of those who have passed are still involved, and some might come to your mind right now. They're still doing things to assist this collective and kind of, like I said, build on what they did. But the multidimensional soul integration, of course, takes that into consideration, but not just my modality. As we go into 0 point energy, and let me explain for those of you who are not as familiar with 0 point energy. First of all, 0 point energy, to go in it is very intense. So to astral project into it versus what the Hathors did, which was place a small dose of the 0 point in us temporarily, it occurred to me oh, I know why they're doing this. It's more comfortable for the body. And if there's a part, here's what they're showing me right this very moment in time. Please take these ideas and start doing the work in your sessions with people if you are a Lightworker, because I actually want to hear feedback. This is almost like one of those things like, I want to hear feedback on like how this goes. Okay, here's the idea. And this is the kind of stuff that comes up in mentorship, because I usually am working with people one-on-one and developing modalities, but this is for the broader collective to receive. When you feel a part of the body that is stubborn, that's the only way I can say it. Something's really stuck. And maybe they've worked with, healer after healer, and it's always scary as a light worker, where then they're like, I've worked with 20 other people and they haven't been able to do anything. And I'm like, no. I'm like, oh man, am I setting myself up for failure? You get that, right? But here's a tactic to use. Okay, maybe, just maybe, they need a modality or a light worker who is tapped into the quantum more and who can do the healing work or activate across all time, space, dimensions, and realities. And one of the easiest ways to do that, there's a couple ways to do this, but one of the easiest ways to do this is to bring in a dose, a drop, a whatever, of the 0 point energy. And I'm being shown that you can work with different beings who can do that for you, so you're not the one having to go get it and bring it in. Like, I highly recommend just hire somebody or work with somebody, do an energy exchange with a guide, or I'm feeling dragons for some reason, to bring that forward and to inject it into the body temporarily in order for you to pull that part of the body outside of time, space, and everything, so that whatever you do in there is done in the quantum and can radiate out and become effective across all their multidimensional parts. So I hope that was enough, because it's kind of the extent to which I'm going to explain it right now. It's interesting. I feel two offerings coming forward. They're sort of like, I don't love using the word mastermind. Okay. It's not my favorite word. It's master heart. Maybe I need to call it master heart because mine doesn't do it. Like soul connection circles or soul sharing or something. It's a circle more than it is me just like sitting up at the head and describing stuff. And what it is these containers for light workers, specifically light workers. And I feel two coming forward. One where it's like a connection to create new modalities for the new earth, but like a brainstorm thing. Even the word brainstorm, not my favorite. I'll try to come up with something better. You can drop in the comments of this YouTube video if you can help me. I would not be against having help with the name. But the idea is to bring all of our ideas to the table, and we're smarter together, right? There's no like you and I, there's just we. So it's like, why would we compete when we can all come together and just like talk about what's coming in our work and how that can help other people? So that's one offering that I definitely feel I'm locking in for March. Okay. The other one is kind of related. So I might actually do them simultaneously and like they might be together. The other one is about business and about basically like for those of you at the beginning stages and phases, or even in the middle, coming together with other people in the same shoes. And this one will be more at the beginning, probably more me sharing my style of doing things and like how it's all worked for me. And then there will be like a piece for questions and answers, which then anybody could bring in their ideas, not just me. So those are specifically offerings for light workers and people. When I say light workers, I mean those of you who are doing healing modalities or want to do healing modalities, or it's time. Like I've had about 10 people in the last 2 weeks, and their guides are like, it's time to start offering sessions. It's time. It's time to get your website done. It's time. So if that's you, let me tell you, there's this new crop of light workers coming forward in the collective. Why? Well, listen, There is going to be a demand so huge, we can't even hardly keep up with it. I don't know how many of you have watched Bashar lately, but he's just come out with this whole process on how to connect with interdimensionals. Like, it's literally a step-by-step thing he's doing. And I'm going, yeah, like we're all preparing people because the demand is going to be there. I know that the guides came forward for, obviously Bashar came forward. But to express this, like, hey, we got to get these people ready. We got to get these people ready to go. So there's all kinds of prep going on, all kinds of prep. Okay, let me stop right there and just allow you to take a deep breath and remind you how incredible my Starseed Gridwork community is. Oh my goodness. We are just, one of the things I'm loving about it is people aren't feeling alone. That's just a very simple thing. But like, I'm noticing over and over. I just had my men's circle this last weekend, and all of it was like, we don't want to feel alone anymore. Like, are we crazy? We just want to be able to talk about this stuff with other people. So the Starseed Gridwork community is growing every day. I'm so thrilled to have, some of you listening in that group, and I'm able to get in there and interact, bring in messages. We have the 3 live virtual gatherings every single month. In addition to that, you get special discounts on different offerings I'm doing, live offerings I'm doing, like courses that I'm doing. So for instance, one, I offer this Lightworker circle and this Lightworker business circle next month, and it's going to be a monthly offering. You'll get a special discount on that to participate. So it's kind of a cool perk as part of the community. Not only that, but there's just so many amazing people in there. Like, if you want to network, that's where Soul Family is gathering, because it is, Instagram and all those places, you can kind of dabble in like, oh, I'm going to find people that I resonate with. But when I put up my banner, Starseed Gridwork community, it's a certain kind of person that's going to walk into there, and they're probably your people if that vibes with you too. It's always fun to find exactly our people, because even within the spiritual community, there's kind of a variety. I'll tell you who I call in and what I foster: people who are sovereign, people who are powerful, like who have stepped into their power to a certain degree, and who have kind of done some of the preliminary stuff and are ready to get down to business. That's who's in that group. It's so powerful. So there's my little invitation to you. Okay, if you felt the little ping in your heart, just come in for like a month and try it. Like, there's literally no commitment. You could come in, see how it is, look around, get a taste of what it is, and then, see if it is for you. See if it does resonate with you. All right, shifting into the Hathor Material. A lot of what wants to come through today, it's funny because actually as I'm talking about this, one of my amazing Starseed Gridwork community members just posted something in the little forum that we have so closely connected to this. So Steph, thank you for posting this. She mentioned about the toroidal field, right, around the body. This is the electromagnetic field. And it's actually in the Hathor Material. And I don't know how many of you remember from the last podcast I did, if you listened, that the Hathors said in the book, okay, they said, we literally see you as a walking, moving galaxy of stars. So although your body seems physically solid to you, we view it quite differently from the standpoint of light and energy. Then they talk about the Ka, the pranic body. All right. And I actually mentioned this in the last podcast a little bit. But the piece that I want to focus on today is their recommendations for how you can bring more pranic energy into your Ka. This is in chapter 2 of the Hathor Material. If you are visual, please get the book, because some of my words might go in your ear and out. If you're like me, I need to see it. So I'm going to just start by reading an excerpt, and then I'll stop and talk about it a little bit. We need a little light language. We now wish to share 3 specific techniques to build your ka, followed by some thoughts concerning things we recommend you increase in your life and things we recommend you decrease in your life. Okay, that's the end of that excerpt because I'm going to just paraphrase now as I go through some of these exercises. And the first exercise, they call it a self-mastery exercise, has 2 phases and it involves the pranic tube. And in a nutshell, what you're doing is you're using your breath to call in celestial energies from above and through the crown and soul star chakra, and terrestrial energies in a second breath through the root chakra. When I did this exercise, it reminded me of alternate nostril breathing, which I was like, there's something to that. So it's almost like you have 2 nostrils, which sounds really weird, I know, but like through your crown and through your root, and you're alternating that. Okay? And I think one of the biggest things you can do as you start off, and they mention it, is just to become aware of that pranic tube. If you can't feel that energy, that column of energy down through the body, you gotta figure that out. So just however that works for you, because I don't want to say you can just sit still and do it. There's other things you can do. Listen to your body, figure out how you can best understand that. One of the things that they say is to do it with music. Also do it outside. So for those of you who that is something that you need, just like incorporate everything you do. It's interesting because one of the quotes I want to read, it says, your ka is crucial to the process of raising your vibration in the ascending spiral of consciousness. The process of moving your entire being up the ascending spiral requires energy. It requires force, life force. I'm going to stop right there because I think that reel that I posted where they said breath, it's safe to breathe the breath of life. This is it. This is what they were saying. And continuing the quote, and that life force is generated through your ka. Did you hear that? That life force is generated through your ka. The actual source of your life force comes from all that is, and it emanates through all the particles and energetic streams that move through the universe. And guess what? You are one of those particles and energy streams that moves through the universe. All right? The second tip that they give is very similar to the first. Instead of just bringing it in, you're actually sending it from the central channel out to the different branches of the body. So as you see like a diagram, there's actually diagrams in the book. It really shows you what that looks like in that toroidal field that I said, that electromagnetic field. Now there's another piece of the exercise, and this is interesting because they say it sensitizes you to the effects of emotionally qualified prana. As simple as it may be, the addition of this step has immense implications and will greatly increase your energy mastery. This one is a topic that came up for me last week, and this is all about the unconditional love. Placing your awareness in your heart chakra at the center of your chest and recall a feeling of unconditional love and acceptance. And then with that, you have to feel it. You hold that in your heart chakra and draw prana up from the earth into your heart chakra. Hold your breath for a moment. And when you exhale, you move your awareness from your heart into your physical body and allow they call it qualified prana. In my mind, I see calibrated prana that has been calibrated with the frequencies of unconditional love. You move it, you're washing it through the heart chakra, and then you move it through your entire body. And then you just do that over and over and over again. This week, I will be creating a light language activation in just a few days that is designed to help you better access that state of unconditional love. Now, some of you might say, wait, this sounds so familiar. Like, this sounds like last week's podcast. Yep, this is just like what they were talking about in chapter 3. They're still talking about this idea of unconditional love. And so it's extremely important for us to do simple things to allow this to happen. Now, there are a couple other tips, and I think it's most important for you to just read this whole book. But I will pop in with like 2 more. If you can hang out with me here, I'm so excited to have you. And I know this is a little bit longer length than I usually do, but you got to get to this part. This is something that came through full blast in our 5D emotional body group activation. So they say we would now like to discuss ways to improve and strengthen your Ka, as well as those things that diminish it. If you wish to take the ascension journey, you will need to make your Ka as strong as possible. There are very clear guidelines, and if you choose not to practice them, that is fine. There is no judgment on our part. It is all free will and free choice. But if you wish to enter the ascension spiral through the different levels of your own being, you must strengthen your Ka and also realize there are ways you can harm yourself. For example, if you have a bucket and you fill it with water from a well and your goal is to take it to the garden and put it into the roots of the plants, you do not punch holes in the bottom of the bucket and then try to carry water back to the garden, do you? No, because by the time you get there, the water will be gone. It is a wasted effort. It's the same thing with this. These are only the first steps. There are many more advanced steps, but these first steps will put you well on the road to building your life force. I'm going to skip ahead a little bit. The next part says, the first thing we shall discuss has to do with the life force you express sexually. Sexual energy is actually a manifestation or expression of your Ka through the lower chakras, especially the sacral or sexual chakra. Our use of the words lower chakras denotes orientation, not value. In building your Ka, you want to raise this kind of energy through methods that will allow you to experience full bliss and ecstasy without depleting your life force. Now, I know that some of you are thinking of tantric yoga, because that's a big one, Kundalini yoga. This is all part of it. But I'm going to paraphrase, but they go on and say, it's important for you to express this, but also retain and circulate this energy so that it can go upward, so you can actually like fuel and feed your Ka rather than deplete it and just give it away to everybody. Because the more that you do express this energy without replenishing your Ka, it will actually deplete the energy in your whole immune system. And this is what they talk about, right? They're not talking about denying yourself the pleasure, but it's just different practices. A lot of this is reflected in the Magdalene manuscript. And sometimes I notice when I talk about these topics, people who don't have partners feel left out. Listen, in the Magdalene manuscript, it talks about how you can do this all by yourself. You do not have to have a partner. Okay? Now, one last thing I'm going to mention that they talk about is the type of food you eat. And I've talked about this before. It's very simple. Eat live foods. Now, it's funny in here because they talk about something I personally experienced and I was laughing so hard. This is what they said. If you're not used to eating live foods, meaning uncooked fruits and vegetables, as well as sprouted grains, begin this change slowly. Add live foods to your diet in a way that feels comfortable. Adding too much live food without proper preparation can lead to a detoxification crisis. Let me tell you, friends, 5 years ago, when I had a huge shift, that's what happened to me. And I did it. I'm kind of like an all or nothing person. I literally went cold turkey into live raw diet. It just tore my insides apart. So I highly recommend you doing it gradually. And I am giving my testimonial to what the Hathors said. But eat live foods. This is just like a little tip. I'm just dropping in here at the end. Okay? Eat live foods, living foods. Dolores Cannon also talked about in her books how we were going to be shifting into more like juices. And I have too. I've spoken about that. So it blended up foods. It requires less work from your digestive system so that it can it can help other parts of your body that need energy. rather than you trying to digest very hard to digest foods. Like I think meats probably is there. But just listen to your body. Listen to your body. It's funny because in another part of the book that I didn't read, they said, yeah, humans tend to get up in arms when we start to dictate to them what they should eat or drink. I was like, yes, that is definitely our programming. We sort of resist any advice about what we should eat or drink because they said humans are very attached to their foods and their drinks. So just think about that for a moment. I'm going to bring in some light language to help you fully integrate what came in today. Ayatokoroki aya. Yatokoroki atakasai tokoyana ya ta 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 yashakatokoya yashatakokoya toya. I definitely feel that light language transmission that's going to come out later this week all about unconditional love. And my intention is that it will help support you. So please look out for that. In addition, I am so thrilled to co-create with those of you who are my Hawaii-based soul fam. We will be in Hawaii doing an incredible event on the island of Kauai on the 24th, 2024. Incredible number. As well as an event in Kona that I have on the 28th and an event on Leap Day in Kauai. So for those of you who are, again, either visiting Hawaii, it won't be by chance if we cross paths and you're visiting, or if you reside there, please consider joining us. There are starseeds beginning to gather, and we are doing activations, and we are connecting on that beautiful piece of Lemuria. My friends, as always, I just want to send you so much love from my heart, and remind you that I am you, and you are me, and we are we. Until next time.